Formula One drivers have turned against the very rules meant to define the sport's future, after Spa exposed a power problem so extreme that a modern Formula One car can fall from roughly 1,000 horsepower to barely 450. Max Verstappen compared it to Formula 3 power trapped inside a Formula One chassis. Oscar Piastri said one of Spa's greatest corners no longer feels like a corner. And Carlos Sainz is demanding an investigation into how these regulations were approved at all. But this is not a revolt over fines or driver penalties. It is something much bigger. The drivers are challenging the engine regulations themselves, and the decision protecting those rules could leave Formula One trapped with the problem until 2028. Subscribe to the channel. The anger that exploded in Belgium did not begin with one chaotic stewarding call. It did not begin with a time penalty. And it did not begin because one driver believed another had escaped punishment. The real conflict is buried much deeper inside the cars. It begins with the new power unit formula. Under the 2026 regulations, Formula One moved toward an almost equal division between traditional combustion power and electrical power. Half from the internal combustion engine. Half from the hybrid system. On paper, that sounds balanced. It sounds modern. It sounds like a clear step toward a more electrified future. But Spa revealed what that balance can feel like when the battery cannot provide full power throughout the lap. The car may have close to 1,000 horsepower while the electrical system is fully active. Then, when the stored energy runs low, the driver may be left with only 450 to 500 horsepower from the combustion engine. That is not a gentle reduction. It is a dramatic collapse. Imagine pressing the accelerator in a powerful road car, feeling the full force push you forward, and then suddenly losing half of that strength while your foot is still down. The car has not broken. The engine has not failed. The system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And that is what has angered the drivers. The problem is not a malfunction. The problem is the regulation working as intended. At shorter circuits, or tracks where the battery has more opportunities to recover energy, the weakness may be easier to manage. Spa is different. Spa-Francorchamps stretches the power unit across long straights, steep elevation changes, and fast sections where the driver wants continuous acceleration. The battery is asked to deliver enormous energy. Then it runs out. When that happens, the car does not simply become a little slower. It can lose hundreds of horsepower. The driver may need to lift off the accelerator in the middle of a straight. Sometimes the driver may even need to change down a gear while traveling flat out, not because a corner is approaching, but because the car is trying to preserve or recover electrical energy. Inside the paddock, this extreme battery management has become known as superclipping. The phrase sounds complicated. The feeling is simple. The car stops giving the driver the power they expect. Think of a torch with a weak battery. At first, the light is bright. Then it fades. You can still see, but the beam no longer reaches as far. Now imagine that fading light controlling the acceleration of a Formula One car while another driver closes from behind. That is the experience the new regulations have created. And this changes more than top speed. It changes how the driver approaches the entire lap. Before entering a long straight, the driver must think about how much battery remains. Before attacking a fast section, the driver must consider whether using full electrical power now will leave the car weak later. A qualifying lap should feel like one continuous act of commitment. Brake late. Carry speed. Trust the grip. Accelerate as early as possible. But under these regulations, the driver may need to interrupt that flow. Lift here. Save energy there. Change gear in a place where no driver would naturally change gear. Protect the battery now, so the car does not become powerless before the finish line. That may be efficient. It may satisfy the intended energy distribution. But according to several drivers, it is damaging the experience of driving the car. Carlos Sainz made that criticism painfully clear. Sainz was not speaking only as a Williams driver. He was also speaking in his role as a director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association. That gives his words greater weight. He was not complaining because one result went against him. He was questioning how the sport reached this point. Sainz said that whoever saw the simulations in 2022 and 2023, and failed to ask how the regulations could be accepted, needed to review what happened. That is not a minor complaint. It is a demand for accountability. The drivers believe the warning signs should have been visible years earlier. Before the cars reached the circuit. Before the manufacturers committed to their designs. Before the sport discovered the full consequences at one of its fastest and most demanding tracks. The simulations should have shown the power fluctuations. They should have shown how quickly the battery could be exhausted. They should have shown what would happen on a circuit with long straights. And they should have shown what the driver would feel when a Formula One car suddenly produced power closer to a much slower category. Sainz's question is simple. Who saw those results and decided they were acceptable? But that question opens another. Were the drivers taken seriously when the regulations were being formed? Formula One drivers understand sensations that cannot be captured fully by a graph. A simulation can show speed. It can show battery state. It can show energy deployment. But it cannot completely reproduce the feeling of losing hundreds of horsepower while balancing a car with Formula One levels of aerodynamic grip. That combination is what Max Verstappen attacked. Verstappen described the car in Spa's second sector as having roughly 450 or 500 horsepower. He compared that to Formula 3 power. But the car still carries Formula 1 downforce. That creates a strange machine. The tires and aerodynamics allow enormous cornering speed. The engine, without full electrical assistance, may not provide the acceleration expected from the highest level of motorsport. It is like giving a professional sprinter the shoes, training, and body of an Olympic athlete, then asking them to run while dragging a heavy bag. The ability is there. The equipment is there. But the energy needed to release the full performance has disappeared. And this can change the character of famous corners. Oscar Piastri focused on Pujon. Pujon is one of Spa's defining challenges. A fast, committed section where confidence, grip, and precision should separate the best drivers. But Piastri said it had become little more than a bend in the straight, because it no longer felt like a real corner. That statement should worry anyone responsible for the direction of Formula One. The sport has spent decades building its identity around corners like Pujon. Corners that expose hesitation. Corners that reward courage. Corners where a driver must trust the car before the mind is fully comfortable. But if the car reaches that section with reduced power, the challenge changes. The driver may no longer arrive with the speed required to make the corner meaningful. The track has not changed. The barrier has not moved. The shape remains the same. Yet the regulations have altered the experience so deeply that the corner loses part of its identity. That sounds like a small complaint about driving pleasure. It is not. The quality of a racing car affects the quality of the racing. When drivers enjoy the car, they can attack with confidence. When the power delivery is predictable, they can plan overtakes. When the car responds naturally, they can focus on racing each other. But when electrical deployment rises and falls dramatically, the driver must race the battery as much as the opponent. A car with full deployment may close rapidly on another car that has run out of electrical assistance. Then, on the next section, the advantage may reverse. The battle becomes less about who carried more speed through the corner, and more about whose battery happened to be available. That creates an unusual form of racing. One car may appear dominant for several seconds. Then it becomes vulnerable. The following driver may prepare an attack, only to lose electrical power before completing it. The audience sees cars accelerating and slowing. The driver feels a changing machine that cannot always provide consistent power. And the engineers are forced to manage energy through software, instructions, and strategic compromises. This is what makes the Spa controversy bigger than one difficult qualifying lap. It raises a question about what Formula One is supposed to reward. Driver skill. Engineering efficiency, battery management, manufacturer objectives, entertainment, sustainability. The sport is trying to satisfy all of them at once. And the 50-50 power split sits directly in the middle of that conflict. From the manufacturer's perspective, the regulation has a clear purpose. Audi and Honda supported keeping the equal balance between combustion power and electrical power. Their position matters because both manufacturers committed to Formula One under this engine formula. The large electrical contribution was not an accidental detail. It was one of the reasons they joined or remained interested in the championship. Changing the balance now could undermine the foundation of their programs. Factories have invested enormous resources. Engineers have been hired. Testing systems have been built. Components have been designed around the expected electrical contribution. A major change could reward manufacturers that chose a different path and punish those that followed the regulation exactly. That is why Audi and Honda resisted an immediate shift. From their point of view, the sport made a promise. The new era would place electrical power at the center of Formula One. They committed because of that promise. Now the drivers are asking the sport to reconsider the consequences. Both sides have a reasonable argument. And that is what makes the conflict so difficult. The drivers are not rejecting hybrid technology. They are not asking Formula One to return to the past. They are saying the current balance produces a car that feels wrong on certain circuits. The manufacturers are not ignoring the drivers simply because they do not care. They are protecting investments built around rules that were agreed years earlier. Between them stands the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile. The governing body must decide whether to protect the original engine agreement or respond to the people actually driving the cars. And the response has not satisfied the drivers. The manufacturers only committed to improving the power ratio for 2028. Not immediately. Not before the next race. Not through an emergency correction after Spa. 2028. That means the drivers may face the same fundamental problem through the rest of 2026, then throughout 2027. 2 seasons of managing the same power fluctuations. 2 seasons of arriving at long circuits knowing the battery may disappear before the lap is complete. 2 seasons of explaining why famous corners feel less demanding. That delay is one reason the anger feels like a revolt. The drivers are not only criticizing a technical problem. They are being told that the meaningful solution may not arrive for years. And this is where Lewis Hamilton's response became especially sharp. Hamilton said he believed the problem had been visible immediately. Then he questioned who made the decision. His final observation was even more direct. Whoever made it, he said, was still in their job. That is not only frustration with a regulation. It is frustration with accountability. When a driver makes a visible mistake, the consequence arrives immediately. A missed braking point can destroy the race. A collision can produce a penalty. A poor performance can threaten a contract. The driver's error is replayed from every angle. But when a regulation creates a problem years later, responsibility becomes difficult to identify. Committees were involved. Manufacturers were consulted. Simulations were reviewed. Decisions were shared across departments. The result belongs to everyone, which can make it feel like it belongs to no one. Hamilton's criticism attacks that protection. If the drivers could see the problem quickly, who approved it? If the simulations revealed the behavior years earlier, why was it accepted? And if the result has damaged the quality of driving, why is the solution delayed until 2028? Those questions cannot be answered by calling the new engine formula innovative. Innovation is not automatically improvement. A system can be more advanced and still create a worse experience. It can be more efficient and less enjoyable. It can satisfy manufacturers while frustrating drivers. And it can produce impressive numbers on a technical document while creating strange behavior on the circuit. That is the contradiction exposed at Spa. The new cars are designed to represent the future. Yet some drivers believe the power delivery has taken something away from Formula One's identity. Sainz said nobody was enjoying the qualifying lap as much as they had the previous year. That statement reaches beyond horsepower. Qualifying is one of the purest moments in motorsport. No fuel saving for a long race. No need to protect a position for dozens of laps. No traffic when the lap is timed correctly. Just one driver, one car, and the limit. The pleasure comes from building the lap. Feeling the tires. Connecting one corner to the next. Increasing confidence until the car feels almost alive.